AAA Concept in web applications. The research carrying out for programming languages and design concepts. Need of this AAA concept in web applications. First of all, we'll see what is AAA. AAA refers to authentication, authorization, and accounting. Here we have a small description on introduction. Authentication, authorization, and accounting, or the AAA, is the framework for intelligently controlling access to computer resources, and it also enforcing policies and auditing usage. And AAA concept is now used in most of the web application in order to provide web server security. Authentication, authorization, and accounting, or AAA, is used in IP-based networking to manage the computer resources. Now we'll see what is the need of AAA. As I mentioned before, authentication, authorization, and accounting has three main needs, and these needs are different from each other. Authentication identifies a user. Authorization determines what that user can do. Accounting monitors the network usage time of that user. And AAA network security services provide the most important framework. Through this framework, network administrator can set up access controls. Now we'll see what is authentication. Authentication refers to the process of identifying one entity from another entity uniquely. To tell simply, it helps to identify one user from another user. And this task can be accomplished through the credentials. Credentials can be username, passwords, and digital certificates, and etc. And those things are described later. Authentication general methods. Authentication can be accomplished through several methods. For example, it can accomplish through username and password, or in fingerprints, key dongles, or retinal scan. But in web application, we use username and password as the common method. The entity can be a client or it can be a server. And after authentication, we are moving to the authorization. Authorization is also corresponding with authentication. Authorization refers to the granting of explicit types of privileges to entity or a user based on their authentication, what privilege they are requesting, and the current system state. When user is authenticating while he is logging to the system will automatically put that user into a privilege level. According to that privilege level, the things can be performed by that user may be different from other user. This is the simple idea of authorization. And the basic actions in authorization can be categorized as this. It is create, delete, update, and read. And create, read, update, and delete, simply known as CRUD. And this is the sample login form. Here, any registered user has to enter username and his valid password. After he enters in this username and password, he has to click this login button. And if that user is a valid user, system will allow him to access into the system. And the things that is happening in the login form are furthermore described here. And now we'll see what is accounting is. Accounting refers to the tracking of using up of network resources and activities by users. To say simply, accounting track users after that user log into the system. and the accounting information may be used for several tasks, and those tasks are listed here. And the typical information that is gathered in accounting is the identity of user and the nature of the service delivered and where the service began and when it ended. The identity of user can be determined by the username and the password, and the nature of the service delivered is used by the privilege level. As many applications in this is the sample news website, and this is the login screen provided in that news website. Here user has to enter username and his password, and then he can log into the system. The way the user can log into the system, and now we'll see what is user validation. When a registered user log into the system, initially he has enter the username and password, and this username and password will be validated by the system. This username and passwords are not accurate or mismatching, the system will pop out an error message. While system is validating username and password, it will validate that username and password with the corresponding user level. At this situation, though the username and passwords are matching, but those credentials are not matching with the corresponding user level, system will not allow that user to access into the system. This is the basic thing done in user validation. After user is validated, he can enter into the system, and the system will recognize users in many user levels. Those users can be registered author, editor, publisher, manager, and administrator. And the things that can be performed are varies according to this user level. These are 6 types of users that we can commonly see in news websites. Okay, this is the user validation example. Here, if you look clearly, you can see that user has entered the username as user and he has entered some password. As these are not matching, or if there is some error in anywhere, it has pop out error message saying incorrect username, password or access level. Please try again. It implies that if any user wants to access into the system, he has to provide a valid username, valid password as well as valid access level. It means that according to that access level, that username and password must be accurate. And when system is carrying out the validation, this within any system can be different but to any other users, to every users according to his user level. For example, this is the authorization in new website, and this is the screenshot that what administrator can view. Here we have to remember that anything that administrator can do can't do by an user, and the things that administrator can do can be editing users, adding users or deleting users, but never user can do these tasks. User can do some other tasks, but not the tasks that are done by the administrator. Here we have to remember that the administrator sometimes can do all the action that can be done by user, but user never can do the actions that are restricted for him. It means the things that can be only done by administrator cannot be done by any other user.